Hello guys, and welcome to Season 3 of the Penny Podcast. I'm Andrés, I'm in 12th grade, and I'm the Coppell Student Media Web Producer.
I'm Meer, I'm in 10th grade, and I'm a staff writer.
If this is your first time tuning in, the Penny Podcast is a weekly podcast that incorporates entertainment and interview elements.
This week, our CSM highlight goes to Camila Villareal for her article, Hong Kong Protests Causing Tension Worldwide, published under our news section. I'll recite the opening to her article. Since March 2019, Hong Kong has been in disarray over the newly introduced extradition bill, which would allow for those accused or convicted of a crime to be transported to the mainland China. The story is a very insightful look into a crisis that has found its way onto our social media feeds. To read the rest of Camila's piece, head over to coppellstudentmedia.com.
This week on One Shot, the Xbox Series X and the PS5 are set to release this holiday season. Both of them are heavily anticipated follow-ups to the slew of consoles which Microsoft and Sony released during the 8th generation of consoles. From a mere specification standpoint, they will definitely be the most powerful home consoles to date. The following Penny Podcast interview was conducted in an honest and open environment. All the opinions held by our guests are not representative of the podcast's political or social beliefs. We are here to give a platform for anyone and everyone with a voice. Thank you for understanding. What is your full name, grade, and favorite color?
Hello, my name is Juliana Aguirre. My full name is... Oh, that was my full name. Oh my gosh. Anyways, my favorite color is yellow, and I'm a senior at
Awesome.
Coppell High.
Gotcha. Give us a little rundown of your life in the States.
Well, I was born in the U.S., lived most of my life in Massachusetts, lived in a city called Lynn, made a lot of friends there. My siblings and I grew up there. My parents moved there when they first immigrated to the United States from Mexico. Lynn's fine, I guess. People who don't normally live in Massachusetts and live on the other cities outside of Lynn probably call Lynn the ghetto, quote and unquote, but I don't think that. I think Lynn more is of a really good community, has a good balance of Spanish people, white people, and black people, and they're just all there. It's nice. The high school there was nice too. The schools there were very diverse, and I just think Lynn was just a good place for me to grow up in. Lynn itself pretty much shaped me as a person. I met so many other different people from different backgrounds. I made a lot of friends there. We all had our different views and stuff, but in the end we were just really good friends, and I really do kind of miss home.
Yeah.
And now I'm like in Texas. I moved in back in August to here for my parents because they wanted to make a restaurant here. Yeah.
That's nice. And how's that been for them?
They're currently trying to negotiate right now, trying to have a business proposal. I helped them with that since their English isn't really that good, especially my mom's. I mean, they speak it well, but when it comes to writing it, they aren't that great, so I helped her with that. And so I wrote the business proposal for them. And if it gets accepted and they find a restaurant for sale, we'll probably be in business.
Awesome. Sounds good. But I've been there before where you have to be the little translator.
Yeah.
Writing or just speaking in general. It's very funny position to be in, but very necessary especially for us when our parents aren't always the best at speaking a second language. What aspects of your culture do you cherish the most?
I feel like I sound very typical if I said the food. Mexican food is just really good. I like how my mom always like puts all her work into it, and I feel like that's how people in my culture show their love, show how they appreciate people, is through food. You go over someone's house, you bring food for like parties and stuff, and I think it's just nice. I also appreciate the music and the dances and the holidays they celebrate, like El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. I've always wanted to go to Mexico and visit, just for that day. One day I will,
Oh, yeah.
but it just seems so interesting.
Awesome.
Do you ever think that any of those cultural aspects are misrepresented in popular media?
Yeah, I sometimes do. Especially when it comes to like, I guess on the subject of misconstruction, I think it would be like Halloween costumes.
Uh-huh.
How like, you know, every typical Hispanic Halloween costume has like the big sombrero, the big mustache, the maracas, the poncho. And then you have like Cinco de Mayo, where like a lot of people celebrate it despite not knowing why Hispanics celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And I've seen it a lot on media too. People acting like they appreciate the cultural aspects of Mexico and they appreciate everything, but they sometimes do it in a way that sounds more like they're, I don't know, like
It's
making
like
fun of it, I guess.
Yeah, appropriation in a way.
Mm-hmm.
No, and would you say that it's like a lack of knowledge on their side, or just what they've been taught their whole lives?
I feel like it could be a little bit of both. I feel like if they understood more about my culture and more about what it truly is to be Mexican, what it truly is to be there in Mexico and be someone from there, I think if they understood it more, they would probably not make it like more appropriation than they probably do. They probably don't even intend to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes people just say things they don't like intend to say, and it comes off the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. I understand. How does it feel like to be a young female Mexican teenager in Coppell, Texas?
Honestly, I first coming into Texas, I like had this whole weird view on Texas. I was like, oof, there's like I don't know, it's just when you think of Texas, you think the South, you think white, you think guns, you think all these things, but when I came here, it's totally different. Mm-hmm. I thought the school, Coppell High, I thought it was gonna be, you know, a lot of white kids and not a lot of like people like me and other minorities, but it turns out it's totally different than what I thought. It's a lot of minorities, a lot of whites, they're all just mixed in together, and it's cool to think about. I like it, I enjoy it. There's also a lot of stores in Texas too that I didn't even think were a thing.
Which ones?
Like obviously the CBD ones.
Oh yeah.
Those are.
We just got those.
I know. I was like back in Lynn, we didn't have any of that. There's also like a lot of Spanish stores too. Maybe not like the normal like corner store with like all the Spanish snacks and stuff, but there's like Spanish restaurants. There's tortilla place around here too.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever gone to El Rancho or Fiesta?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are pretty much Mexican supermarkets, I guess you could say.
It like reminded me of home. It reminded me of Lynn. Like those supermarkets, like when I went in there, I was like, dude, this reminds me so much of Mexico. This reminds me so much of Lynn. Like it was pretty cool to see. I liked it. It had like all the candies that I remember my mom buying me. Like it was great.
Awesome.
In what ways has the recent political climate affected your life?
Oof. Well, like my dad, he loves watching CNN like all the time. So I hear the news playing all the time, and it's, I don't know, to me it's annoying because I'd rather not listen to news every day. But I don't know. I mean, my parents don't seem to be bothered by what's happening. They just shrug it off and they just like don't pay attention to it. But my dad kind of does, but not in the sense that like he is just like, he disagrees with anything. He just kind of likes to absorb the information and just like think about it and talk to me and my sister about it. But other than that, I don't think it's really affected our family personally. So yeah.
Would y'all consider yourselves more bystanders than anything in terms of politics?
I guess. Yeah. I mean, we don't really get into anything political.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of just stood there and we're just like, well, that's happening in the world, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And to each their own, right? If you don't want to be involved in it, then you don't have to. It's just America's a land of freedom. That's what's cool about it. What would you tell a young Mexican girl who is struggling to find her place in America?
Try and find friends. Try to find people like you. There's a whole bunch of other people here that are probably in the same boat as you and are probably trying to find others who are like them, and you know, it's not that hard. America's very diverse. Whether you think so or not, there's bound to be another person that's willing to be your friend, no matter what.
I agree.
On a lighthearted note, if you ever got the chance to meet a quintessential figure in your culture's history, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, Selena. She's so pretty. She is so pretty.
Yeah,
she's so pretty, and she makes such good music. Like, I love her songs. They're really good.
Tex-Mex icon. That is quintessential. That's like our Michael Jackson. Because that was our bridge, right? And she just opened the doors for so many things.
I know. I feel like such a stereotypical Hispanic, but like, it's her. It has to be her. She's so pretty. She's so talented. I just wanted to, like, if I were to like talk to her, I don't even know. I'd probably be nervous. I'd be like, God.
Yeah, I would. If I met her, I'd just be like you did it. You made it, and your impact is immense. This is really cool. How does your educational future look like from here on
out? I don't know. Well, considering I'm now in Texas and I moved away from everyone, I kind of just feel like going back to where I was from, you know? Going back to a place where I knew everything, where I knew where to go. Because Texas is just so new and so, like, there's just so many unknowns in Texas. And I don't know, for me, it's, like, uncomfortable. I like knowing where I am. I like knowing where to go, how to get there. In Texas, it's like, I don't know. I noticed that in Texas, it's just a bunch of roads, highways all the time. Over there in Lynn, we could walk to corner stores, we could walk to Walgreens, we could walk to school. And, like, over here, you have to drive places. You have to drive all the time. So it's, like, it's different from what I know. And I much rather would like to, like, walk to Walgreens or something.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change, right?
Yeah. Say that. And so I was just planning on thinking to go to college over there in Boston, go to community college for like 2 years, and out of there go to an actual university and go there and study for whatever I want. And then after that, maybe open up a bakery. I've been thinking about it, pondering.
That's interesting. Where did that interest come in?
Back in Lynn, there was this bakery that I always went to with my mom, and they'd sell cookies there. And they were like big cookies with like small chocolate chips in them, and they tasted so good. And not only that, but my mom also bought conchas.
Conchas.
She bought those there, and they were good too. And so I guess it's just the love of like sweets and being able to make something and it tastes good and people like what you make. I think I want to open up my own bakery and like make my own little cookies and cupcakes and muffins and just share some of those memories with my mom and like my family with others if I can.
No, that's a very important thing that you brought out. For those unaware, in Mexico there's almost a panaderia as much as there is I don't know what the equivalent of a 7-Eleven. It's very, very common that you see these places with pan dulce. If you go on Google and search it up, pan dulce, you see on images. It's different types of sweet bread. You would say, what I could give an equivalent from over here. I don't know. It's
a donut.
A donut, exactly, and it's like a cultural thing as well.
Yeah,
I'd like to say that.
Like I guess like in Mexico they'd have like pan dulce with like a cup of coffee every morning and stuff like that, just to like wake up in the morning, get your bread, and you just like start eating it, talking to the family.
Yeah. What's funny in Mexico though is that those panaderias don't necessarily close.
No, they really don't.
You'll be there at 10 p.m. and they're still open. Like, what? Mm-hmm. And the bread is fresh, so you'll be like, huh? I guess donut places here. As soon as it's 2, we're done. Done for the day.
Out of stock.
But to go back on what you were saying, I hate bringing up my own. I just have a very strong connection with what you're talking about because I'm Mexican American, born in El Paso, raised in Juarez. So I also feel like I have to go back to where I came from, and I feel indebted to the place that made me who I am, and just open up the opportunities. I want to help those Mexican American kids who want to grow up to be doctors, who want to grow up to be lawyers, and I feel like that's almost like giving back to the community, especially since we don't necessarily, I don't know if you can attest to this, but we don't have a figure that we can look up to right now and say, hey, you know, that's MLK. And we had Cesar Chavez, and he helped a lot, but, you know, we don't have an MLK figure. So who knows? You or me, we could be one of them. We could be that figure, I mean.
It's a very really bold statement.
Very bold statement, but hey, if we got to do it, we got to do it, right? Special thanks to our guest, Juliana Aguirre, and my co-host, Meer Mahfuz. Thank you all for joining us in the 35th episode of the Penny Podcast. Links to the material we mentioned today can be found below, and see y'all next week.